Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mark Lemon's Postcards. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Before we get started, I have to tell you that, just so you know how stupid I am, this is the second time I'm recording this because, unbeknownst to me, the first time I recorded it, didn't have the microphone turned on. So I had about a half hour or so of a video that I went back to check and edit it, make sure everything was good, and it had no sound. So I considered just titling it, Mark Lemon's Postcards Lip Readers version, but I thought that might limit my audience. So I decided to re-record it. So probably most people would have just re-recorded it and not let you in on that behind-the-scenes information that they screwed up and had to do it over again. But I'm just not that kind of guy. I guess I just relish in my own stupidity. So there you go. So now you know I had to do this over again because I forgot to turn the microphone on. So anyway, before we get started here, I would have to ask, despite my stupidity, if you still enjoy videos such as this, would you please give us a like? And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, would you please do that too? Because those things really help us to get seen by more people and to grow our channel. And that's all we're trying to do is just get out there and tell people who like postcards, just give them another opportunity to see some content about postcards. So help us, would you do that, please? Give us likes if you take a moment and just click that like thing wherever it is. And if you would also click that subscribe thing wherever I decide to put this later when I edit it, click that subscribe thing and help our channel to grow. Thank you very much. Now let's get to what sold on eBay over the past week. If we take a look at our eBay generated report here, we see that we sold a total of $1,135.59. That is up almost 110% from last week. And I will, as we go along, I will explain to you just why that is up so much. We sold a total of 136 items, which is up 120% from last week. And our average sale price is at $8.35, which is only down about 5% from last week. But although I like having a higher average sale price, that's nice. But I'm more concerned this week with our total sales. That's the first time we've exceeded $1,000 in a while. And I'm really pleased with that. So I'll take the total sales increase over the slight drop in the average sale price. Now, let's take a look at what makes up those numbers. First of all, we have the Sun Motel in Hollywood, California. It's a nice linen multi-view card. As you can see here, it is postally unused. And I received an offer on that one. It's listed at $7.95, received an offer of $7, which I happily accepted. Next, we have the three biggest ships in the world, war refugees in New York City. We have on the left here, although on the card it says on the right, but as we're looking at it, well, and be on our left, the Queen Elizabeth, and in the center, the Queen Mary, and on the far right, we have the Normandy. It is a real photo postcard. As you can see, it is not postally used. And that one sold for $5.95. Here is Marilyn Monroe. If you recall, a few months back, I bought a big box full of Marilyn Monroe postcards. Here's one of them. Here's Marilyn posing on the beach. It's a continental size card. I don't see a date there on the back. It's a photo by Sam Shaw. There she is in all her beauty. And this one was listed for $5.95. I took an offer of $5 for that. Next up, we had a buyer who bought 4 cards, all of Youngstown, Ohio. The first is the Sheet and Tube Company, Campbell Works, and it is an artist card. This card was done by artist Howard Fogg, and you can see chrome error card, unused. Look on the back there. You can see from an original painting by Howard Fogg. I have sold a lot of these over the years, and his style is pretty recognizable. I can almost always know immediately when I'm looking at one, as I'm flipping through some cards. And although they're not big dollar sellers, they're pretty consistent sellers for me. This one's sold for $5.95. Next card for this same buyer was a view of the public square and Market Street in Youngstown, Ohio. That's a divided back error card. It was posted in 1909. That one sold for $4.95. Again, same buyer, another view of the industrial area in Youngstown, an aerial view, chrome era, unused. That one sold for $4.95. And last for the same buyer was another view of the central square looking north in Youngstown. A divided back card posted in 1907. And that one sold for $4.95. So the total of for 4 cards for that one buyer was like right at $21. Next up, another railroad related card. This is Rockville, PA, the RJ Switch and Signal Tower. And you can see all the railroad tracks there. This card is divided back, posted in 1908. Nice railroad view, sold for $7.95. Here's a paper moon. These are a pretty hot topic, I guess, these days. I had a couple of them. This is the last one. This is a nice view of see a man and a woman sitting, posing there on the paper moon. It is a studio posed card. This one was done at, it says, Souvenir from Riverview Exposition in Chicago. It's a real photo. I think I said that already. It is unused. And there's the couple on the front with the smiling moon. It's dated 1910 down here in the bottom corner. This one I started, I was asking $99.95. It's not uncommon for these to go even higher than that. I've seen them up in the $150 to $200 range. I think this is a pretty good example, but I had this one at $99.95, and I've had a buyer sending me offers here for a little while on this one, and I finally relented, and I let this one go for $75. Next up, a view in DuBois, PA. This is the Elks Theater, and that is pronounced DuBois, not Dubois, as you might think. It's DuBois, and this is the Elks Theater. This is a white border card. It is unused. I had that listed for $7.95, and I took an offer of $7 on that one. Here is a scene from 1963. This was after President Kennedy was assassinated, as he was lying in state at the U.S. Capitol, and people were coming through to pay their respects. You can see unused on the back, and that nice little image of the Capitol there. And on the front, we can see people coming through and a lot of military people standing around the casket. That one sold for $5.95. Here's a view in Montoursville, Pennsylvania. This is the Candell Bennett Porter Table Works. So it is a divided back card. It is not posted. So that would fall in the factory industrial kind of category. That one sold for $9.95. Here's a view at Percassie Park in Percassie, Pennsylvania. This is the auditorium. It's a nice big auditorium. Looking on the back, we can see it's an undivided back card posted in 1907. On the front, it's got a lot of writing, but then that's about all the room they gave you to write. Couldn't write on the back, had to write on the front, and this little bit of blank space they give you didn't allow for too much. So it's not uncommon for these cards to have writing all around the edges. But anyway, this one sold for $12.95. Here's a pretty cool one that I found at Fry's Antiques in Indiana, PA. This says, a reminder from Johnsonburg, Pennsylvania. While you're doing your bit for Uncle Sam, he'll do his bit for you. So you write, and Uncle Sam will make sure that mail gets delivered, as you can see there. I thought that was really cool theme there with Uncle Sam and the military, the soldier there. And that's, again, what I would describe as a generic greeting from a town. It was posted in 1918, so that's World War I era, of course. And that one listed and sold for $19.95. Here's an Easter-themed card. You see a little girl and her lamb there. She's hugging a lamb. It says, Hearty Easter Greetings. It is a divided back card, posted 1910. It is embossed, as you can see the image from the front here on the back. That one was listed for $5.95. I took an offer of $5. Here is a view in Wilcox, Pennsylvania. This is Charles Britz's dairy farm, as it was in 1939. If we look on the back, we can see that it was posted in 1948. And this would be a Chrome era card, as this photo was taken in 1939. That was kind of the start of the Chrome era. I listed this one as I've never seen this one before. I couldn't really find any comps on it. I started this at $14.95. I got immediate offers from a buyer, and we went back and forth a couple times, and we finally settled at $11, which was satisfactory to me. Next up is a pretty cool one. This one says Flying High in Pittsburgh, and you can see it's a studio postcard. We have a child here in a biplane flying over the city of Pittsburgh. When we look on the back, we can see it was done at the Palace Studio in the Jenkins Arcade in Pittsburgh. And when I was looking for comps for this, I found one identical studio, identical pose, just had different people in it, but I could see it was the same background and the same biplane. And it was listed for a very similar price. So I started this one at $19.95, and I took an offer of $17.95. That's a really cool studio pose. Next up is not a postcard, but an ink blotter. This is says a world of holes with Cleveland forged high-speed drill bits, as sold at Canton Hardware Company in Canton, Ohio. Looking on the back, nobody really used it as a blotter, doesn't appear. A little bit of wear, but neat overall, and that one sold for $5.95. Let's go to Shamokin and see what they're smoking. And here we see a view on Sunbury Street in Shamokin, and we have a trolley coming up the center of the street, as we had back in the early 1900s in so many towns. And this is a divided back card. It is, I would say it's used because it does have a message and an address on it, but I don't see a stamp or a postmark, so it probably never actually made it through the mail. But a divided back card, and that one sold for $7.95. Here's another generic greeting. This one from West Salisbury, PA. It says, there is some things about this town I like much. And this is a little Dutch kid here. He likes the town of West Salisbury. It is a Linen era card posted in 1916. It appears there. And that one I listed for $14.95, and I took an offer of $13.50. Here's a nice railroad card. This is the Royal Blue Limited from Clifton Park in Baltimore, Maryland. It is a divided back card. It was not posted. And this buyer left me a nice little note when he made me an offer on this, and put a little note in with it telling me why he was making that offer and the things he considers about the condition of cards when he buys them. And I very much appreciated his input. I wish more buyers would do that. Feel free to make offers and feel free to tell me why you think that maybe my price is a little too high. Maybe I haven't really taken enough consideration of flaws or condition issues or whatever. So I really appreciate his comments, and I told him that back in a message, and we exchanged some messages back and forth, which was very nice, and I got some insights into the kind of things he's looking at, and I think he just helped me to be a little bit of a better seller, and I appreciate that. I want him to know that. So I hopefully will see this buyer again in the future, and anybody out there considering if you see a card you like, but you think maybe the price is too high, don't be afraid to contact that seller and say, hey, I really like that card, but here's where I think it should be. Worst thing can happen is they can disagree with you. So, hey, I'm here to sell cards. I have my own collection, and I don't need to own every card in my possession. Most of them, I want to sell them. So feel free to tell me why you think my pricing might be incorrect, and I'm always willing to listen. I'm not perfect. I'm not the world's leading authority on pricing postcards. So let me know, or any dealer for that matter. If you think their pricing's out of line, don't be afraid to tell them. So anyway, all that to say, this card was listed for $6.95, and I took that gentleman's offer of $5.50. And I believe he actually was nice enough to come back and buy another card after that. Here is this one was done in crayon. I'm just going to say that right up front. This is the Hub Motor Lodge in Philadelphia, PA, as drawn by artist Walter Bowers. If you look on the back, we see it's unposted. It's a linen era card, and right up the middle of the card it says, an original crayon gravure by Walter Bowers. I have sold a lot of these over the years, and they're really to where I recognize them instantly. His style is very recognizable, and not many artists work in crayon. Most of the artists who work in crayon are under the age of 5, but this gentleman made a career out of it, and he specializes mostly in roadside things like hotels and restaurants and that kind of thing. But he may have done other things, I'm not aware, but on postcards, I always see this sort of view right here that we're looking at. And this one sold for $5.95. They are not big ticket sellers, but they're pretty consistent sellers. So if you see these, you might want to consider picking them up if you get them for a good price. Next up, we have a train wreck. This is an accident on the Illinois Central Railroad in Iowa Falls, Iowa in 1912. Here you can see the wreckage there, like quite a serious accident there, and lots of people standing around taking a look at it. On the back, we can see that this particular image must have been used in the investigation into the accident. We see it says investigation number 61. It's dated May 12th, 1912 up here, and it looks like it might have been glued in a album or book, maybe, that was related to this accident with other photos, similar photos. I don't know. But regardless, I had this card listed at $34.95. And I received an offer of $32, which I thought was more than fair enough, and I accepted it. Next up, we have kind of a novelty card. This is a patriotic theme card, and somebody has handwritten up here 4th of July, 1909, and you can see on here we have this little applique of an embroidered U.S. flag, a bugle or trumpet, and it looks like maybe I guess that's the flagpole. I was going to say a spear, but I guess that's the flagpole that the flag is attached to. On the back, we can see divided back. It was posted in 1909, but this little embroidered applique is what makes it neat, and someone else thought so too. it sold for $7.95. Now, next up is a buyer who made my week and made my day yesterday. I had noticed that there were some mail piling up in my eBay mailbox, and as I looked in there, I saw offer after offer after offer after offer for some cards. So I immediately said, okay, this is good. Let's start digging into those and looking at those. And I had one gentleman who had made me, holy cow, I don't know, it was close to 60 offers or more on military ships and military-related postcards. So I'm just going to show you about 5 of them just to give you a sample, because he ended up buying over 60 of them, and I'm not going to show you all of that. It would drive me nuts. But just to give you a sample, here's one here, the USS America aircraft carrier. That one was listed at $4.95. I think he made an offer of, most of his offers were $4 or $3.75. They did vary a little bit, but most were right in that area. Here's another one. This is a Red Ripper fighter aircraft, U.S. Navy fighter aircraft. That one was listed at $4.95. Took an offer, like as I said, a $4 or $3.75 in that neighborhood. Here's the USS Cleveland, a transport ship. Again, $4.95. Most of these were the same price range too. Took an offer of $3.75. Here's the USS Bowen in harbor in New York. You can see the World Trade Center there in the background. $4.95, took an offer of $3.75, and then just the last one, as I'm showing as a sample, here's the USS Forrestal aircraft carrier, again listed for $4.95, probably took an offer of $3.75, $4, something like that. So he ended up buying over 60 cards, and his purchase there really made my day yesterday, which was Saturday, and it like doubled my sales for the week and put me up over $1,000. So thank you very much. That buyer knows who he is, and I thank you very much. I appreciate that. And just another clue for you. Today being Sunday, he's already been back today and made me like 15 more offers. So I guess he didn't get enough of it yesterday. Came back for some more today. So very, very thankful to that buyer, and he's really made for a good week for me. So moving on, here is a sports-related card. This is boxer Jimmy Slattery, and you can see him there on the front. And yes, it is indeed a postcard. You might think at first it was a arcade card. It is made by the Exhibit Supply Company, who did a lot of arcade cards. As you can see down here, it's dated 1925, and it talks about Jimmy Slattery, his birth date and his height and weight, and all about many of his fights, how many knockouts, how many wins, and it goes through a list here for the year of 1925, I guess, of all his fights, and it is postally unused. I couldn't really find any good comps on that one, so I started it at $19.95 in an auction. It got one bid and ended at that price, which I'm happy with. Here we have a real photo. This is Marshall, Minnesota, a view on 3rd Street. And you can see the old cars, and looking down the street, there's some signage to be seen. Over on this side, it says Star Cars, low-cost transportation. There's also a sign, there's also a sign for Red Crown Gasoline. It's hard to see with this arrow here, but there you can see Red Crown Gasoline below that white arrow. And so some old cars, some neat signs, and this one was listed for $49.95. And someone made me an offer of $42, which I thought was pretty reasonable, and I accepted that. So that was just kind of icing on my cake yesterday. And then also this one This is a view in Kerwinsville, PA. This is this Fred J. Dyer Company department store. And if you look in a little closely, you can see some horse-drawn wagons there. I believe that even has the name of the store on it. So an old department store. Here's another wagon over here. A neat old view. It is an undivided back. It was not posted. And that also couldn't find a comp on. Put it up for auction at $19.95. It received 2 bids, and it ended at $26. So that one finishing up yesterday. So like yesterday was just one heck of a day. If you look at my at the chart for eBay across the week, today's or yesterday is just a huge spike. So turned out to be quite a good day, and very appreciative of that. It's nice to get those every once in a while. And we did so well. I think I'm going to buy Lucy and Ellie a special treat for all their hard work in making that week happen. And we will now take a look at some stuff from my personal collection. So, yes, today we will continue our journey on the Lincoln Highway. The last time we were looking at this, we had stopped in Bedford, Pennsylvania, and we are still in Bedford, Pennsylvania, as there happens to be a lot of postcards that can be collected of Bedford, Pennsylvania, and Bedford is along the route of the Lincoln Highway. Some of these cards we are going to look at aren't directly on the highway, maybe a block off or so, and one in particular is not even on the Lincoln Highway, but it is in Bedford, and so it is in my collection. But first of all, first card we're going to take a look at here is the Bedford Garage, and it says down here along the bottom, known from coast to coast. So, Bedford, a historic town of old Pennsylvania on the Lincoln Highway and the Horseshoe Trail. So 2 roads intersect in Bedford, the Lincoln Highway, Route 30, and the Horseshoe Trail, which I think is Route 220, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a quick glance ahead. Yeah, 220. But this is the historic Bedford Garage. And as you can see, they do, let's zoom, can we zoom in on this? Yeah. Here we see a sign in the window for Buick. And there's a place you can drive automobiles right in here through this doorway. And so they do automotive repair work there. And just above the Buick, or the Bedford Garage, is a building called the Hotel Pennsylvania. And we will be looking at that momentarily as well. But this one card focuses on the garage, and that's what that is. Next up, we have DeVore's Tourist Home on East Pitt Street in Bedford on US Route 30. Tourist homes were pretty popular in the earlier part of the century before we had developed a network of highways, and which then spawned hotels and motels and rest areas and that sort, in order for travelers to have some place to stop and get cleaned up and have a nice night's rest and something to eat. Tourist homes were springing up everywhere, and people would actually just, it's kind of like a bed and breakfast that is popular today. People would just invite them into their homes, and if they had spare rooms, then they would allow them to use those rooms and cook the meals and such. And so this is one of those. They've pretty much disappeared, but as I said, I guess bed and breakfasts have in some way kind of taken their place. But this is DeVore's. This is a real photo postcard. Next up is a very cool card. This is the Gulf Service Station in Bedford. And you can see it has that very interesting, I like Art Deco design. Zoom in a little bit on it. You can see the decorative tile on the building. They don't make gas stations like that anymore. And there's your pumps. There's a golf sign out front. So a very cool roadside card. Could be in gas stations, but it has landed in my Lincoln Highway collection because it is located in Bedford. Next up is another kind of a tourist home place. This is the Seven Pillars, run by W.D. Blackburn, it looks like, on Route 30. So another tourist home, place you could pull over, stay for the night as you traveled along the Lincoln Highway. Real photo postcard. Here is another garage. We just looked at the Bedford garage, but this is King's Garage. It says the only fireproof garage in Bedford. And it has a capacity for 250 cars. That's a lot of cars, but it's a pretty big looking building by the looks of it. Within 1 block of all hotels, cheapest rates. So I guess if you need a place to store your car while you're in town, they have something for you. And here's some gas pumps. You can gas up while you're there. This would be it's a divided back era card. Next up is a linen card. This is the Greyhound Post House on the Lincoln Highway at the Gateway Restaurant. And I want to say there's a Gateway Restaurant in Breezewood, Pennsylvania also, which is a little ways from Bedford. They're in the same general vicinity, but two very distinct towns. But this one says Bedford. I'm almost inclined to think that could be an error on there. I have to look into that, because I am not familiar with this building in Bedford. But anyway, it says Gateway Restaurant, and there's the Greyhound buses. That's obviously the Greyhound Post House there. It's where you can get your bus. And that's a cool linen card as well. Now here's a place that's not actually on the Lincoln Highway. This is on the Horseshoe Trail, as I mentioned earlier, which is Route 220. But it's a cool roadside card, and it's close to Bedford, and that's why I included it in here. I'm a sucker for roadside cards like this with restaurants and gas pumps and the such. As you've noticed, as we've looked at some of my collections, since one part of it consists of gas stations and another is restaurants. So this is called Mountain View Park on the Horseshoe Trail, and it is 8 miles north of Bedford. There you see gas pumps. 1, 2 there. Looks like another one back here, although it's an odd spot for a gas pump. And then they also have a restaurant here. And then I have a second card of this same place. This is just a more straight-on view of the restaurant part of the building, with the gas pumps would be up here to the left, but out of our view on this one. And this is a linen era view of Mountain View Park, again, north of Bedford, not exactly on the Lincoln Highway, but on the Horseshoe Trail. Back in town, Bedford, here we have the Old Stone House. This was used as headquarters by George Washington, and it is opposite the Hotel Pennsylvania. Up here, again, we see, as I think we had on another card, it says Bedford, a historic town of Old Pennsylvania on the Lincoln Highway and the Horseshoe Trail. So zooming in here, we could see, although it was once George Washington's headquarters, in this view, it is a Western Union office. So that would have been convenient for George. He could have sent his troops telegrams had that been there at that time, but he missed out on that. Next up, we've heard this one mentioned, but this is the Penn Bedford Hotel, and there are has many views of this hotel, and it was later to become, at some point, or I'm not sure which one was first. This says Penn Bedford. That's a linen card. This says Hotel Pennsylvania. It's a white border. So I guess it was renamed the Penn Bedford, but it was originally the Hotel Pennsylvania, as you can see here. Later to be named the Penn Bedford Hotel, but that is essentially the same view you're looking at there. Excuse me for banging things around. And we're going to take some looks at that when it was the Hotel Pennsylvania. Here's an interior look of the hotel. This is a cozy little private dining room. As you can see, let's zoom in a little bit on that. So you've got seats for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So like 12, 14. It's cozy for 14 people. That's 14 people is not my idea of cozy, but whatever. Another interior view of the Hotel Pennsylvania. This is a private parlor. And you can see they have this like a mostly wicker looking furniture here. Got a little desk here with an antique phone I see on it there. A couple chairs, a little table, lots of tables. There's going to be a rocker back there. So there is a private parlor that you could have had you stayed at the Hotel Pennsylvania. And then we can also go up on the rooftop, and here's the Plaza Lounge of the roof garden. So you can sit and enjoy the evening there on the rooftop lounge. And look at the beautiful countryside there. Lots of tables and chairs for seatings. So we could have a lot of groups up there. Looks like a nice place to spend the evening. But the Hotel Pennsylvania was not the only hotel in Bedford. We also have the Hotel Washington. You see here, it says good food and rooms. Zooming in there, I love the old cars parked there. That's a spiffy looking one there. And I think this card has been colorized, so they've chosen to make that car a bright green, which is interesting. Again, Hotel Washington, named for George Washington, again, I assume, who did spend some time in Bedford, PA. So there's some things named after him. Also, another hotel in Bedford, we have the Greystone Hotel. This is an interesting linen card. We have this older part of the building. You can see it looks like an old stone building. And at some point it's been added onto by a more modern wing there. And in the back it says tap room and lunch restaurant there, plus additional rooms upstairs. So that's an interesting card. And I kind of like the motif there with the gentleman doorman or whatever they are on each side there. Nice use of colors. And yet another hotel in Bedford is the Fort Bedford Inn, and this hotel has, I don't even know how many different versions or views of it. I have quite a few different ones myself, but I'm sure I don't have near all of them. This is one view looking down the sidewalk, and you can see the awnings there. All of the windows pretty much have awnings on them. Here's a real photo view, stepping back a little bit, get a more inclusive view of the building. I see no awnings in this view, but there's an entrance over here with a portico where you can pull in and unload your luggage or load your luggage. You can see the older cars here. Looks more like a 40s era view. Another view of the Fort Bedford Inn. Almost the same as this real photo view, almost the same angle looking down the street, but hey, the awnings are back like they were in this view, more of the same time frame. There's the hotel with the awnings on the window. We can notice in the real photo the awnings are gone. Maybe they're seasonal, or maybe they just chose to remove them. But this view does have the awnings and some older cars parked on the street. Just trying to give you an example of different, same subject, different views. And sometimes in postcards you can get quite a variety of different views of the same thing. Here's another one, yet even different than the other ones. There's a white border view. This view does show awnings on the window, but a more direct view of the entrance of the hotel there. And it says 1 block off the Lincoln Highway. So technically it isn't on the Lincoln Highway, but close enough for my purposes. And a very commonly photographed hotel in Bedford. And as I said, lots of different versions of this hotel out there to be collected. Here is yet another one. I think the last view we'll look at of the Fort Pitt Hotel or Inn. This is a linen multi-view, and you can see the top view has the top view shows a view like many of the other ones we just looked at. But then down below here, we have a dining room. So there's an interior view of the dining room. So a nice multi-view linen card there. And as I said, many, many views of that hotel to be had. I have quite a few, and I know I don't have them all. But lastly for today, we will be looking at the Elmwood Inn and New Motor Court, 4 blocks east of Bedford on the Lincoln Highway. So here you see the inn, kind of the original building here off to the left. And then they have added a motor court as the demand for these kind of services have increased here. They've added these little cottages here, which are cool. And so that is one of your early motels, so to speak. And that is I would have to say that is a Chrome era, an early Chrome era view there. So that's just a few scenes around Bedford, PA, and it looks to me like, as I was flipping through the book there, we could probably spend a couple episodes in Bedford because there's just a lot to see. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a glimpse of scenes around Bedford, and we'll revisit Bedford next time we take a look at the Lincoln Highway. And I thank you again for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, we will see you next time.